All right. Well, welcome. We're here for session 8. I believe it is November something, 2018. So that's where we're at, to get real specific. All right. So what we're going to talk about today are basically the things you saw in the video. We're going to talk about the nuance phase of the coin model. We're going to talk about the Z process. Wait, let me make sure am I recording this? Yes. All right. Z process and the thinking themes. So we might spend most of our time talking about the themes, or really anything that you guys want to drive the conversation toward. So yeah, good. Feel free to use the raise hand thing if you have a comment or question. I think that's working really good. So before we begin, is there any comment or feedback that anybody has? Anything you'd want to focus on today? That anything you want to drill down deeper into? Feel free. This is open mic night. So yeah, let's hear from anybody who has anything they want to focus on specifically. All right. If you think of something, you let me know. We had 3 different worksheets: the conversions worksheet, the Z process worksheet, where you looked at the 4 phases of a project: create, advance, refine, execute. And then we had the 3 themes scramble. And I think we said do 2 out of the 3, whichever you choose, but maybe some of you did 3 out of 3. Maybe some of you did none out of 3. So let me open it up and see if you guys have any questions or comments, or really I'm interested in your experiences with doing them. So yeah, anybody want to share their experience? All right, well, if you do, we'll come back to look at those 3 things. We have, some of the thinking themes discussion. Yeah, let's just open that up and see, as you went through the different themes, what your experience was, and any thoughts, reactions, anything you found helpful or insightful. Yeah, any thoughts about any of these themes? I'll open it up, see what you guys have to say.
So this is Nikki, and ironically, I didn't look at that video this week. we finally got to the strategic thinking things, and I didn't go through the video, but I will go through it, and if I have any questions or comments, I'll put it in the chat. I mean, in the comment section. But I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't have any feedback for it tonight.
No worries at all. Thank you for that, Nikki. Good. Any other reactions? All right. If you have any, let me know. Happy to talk through any of it. The video is posted for session 9. So in there, we're gonna talk about the mature talent. We're gonna talk about this end over here, because you're wrapping up the coin model. You started with raw talent and you moved through the stages and you ended up here at mature talent. And I just want to say too, guys, it's a reminder, we all need it. When you're wondering, where do I go with a client? What do I do? Make this your first stop. Go, you know what? Have I talked with my clients about what talent is and why it matters? Have I talked with them about how to connect with their themes? Observe, interrupt, nuance. Mature talent, that's the other end. And I just want to say about this, this is a never-ending cycle. I mean, I guess it's so obvious to me, I didn't think to say it, but I should. This process, it's drawn linear, but it's really cyclical. I'm always kind of reconnecting with themes, or, thinking I should have interrupted a theme, an hour or 2 after that thought would have been more useful, So, it's a constant process that we go through. But this is where to go if you're wondering where to go with a client. If a client says, hey, can you come in and do something for an hour or a half day? What should you do? Well, come back to this thing and say, well, what's most important? Well, always, before observe or interrupt or nuance, connect is always the most important. So anyway, I wanted to, talk about that. And then once we're through talking about mature talent, it's like, where do you go after that? Where do you go after the coin model? And the answer is strength thinking. I'm really excited about this. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think of this discussion in the video for next week, because it's kind of like, I think of it as the main dish. I think of strength thinking as the main dish for what we're trying to do with helping clients get to where they want to go in life, is to think in a certain way. And I'll preview it here for you now, and then you'll hear it again in the video, because this stuff does, it requires repetition. So in life, we're trying to find as much alignment as possible, and we're trying to avoid contrast. But we can't avoid contrast. It's just an inevitable thing that comes into our lives. But we can be much better at resolving contrast, at identifying it first, and then trying to move it toward alignment. We may never get all the way toward alignment, but even if we just got here, or even here, or even here, it's better than being over here, right? Like if you remember the meter, it's that, speedometer looking thing. All right, so how do you produce alignment? There's really two answers, and one of them I like better. Does anybody remember what the two ways to move from contrast to alignment are? One is hope. I hope things will just work themselves out. I hope the neighbor I don't like will just move away. I hope the boss that makes my life miserable will be abducted by aliens. It's we hope. I hope the mouse living in my cabinets will just decide that he doesn't want to live here, or she doesn't want to live here anymore. So we avoid. I'm not saying hope is bad. I'm not against hope. I'm just saying that we should, as much as possible, veer toward the other strategy, which is rhymes with schmactivity. Activity. Yeah, see, if I engage in the right activity and I perform it at the right level, at a good enough level, then I should be able to make progress from contrast toward alignment. If it's the right activity and I perform it at an adequate level, and maybe the adequate level is basic. I just need to perform it at the basic level. Or maybe it's competent. I need to perform it a little better than basic. Or maybe, advanced. I really need to do a good job on this. Those are the levels. So how do you do that? How do you move your performance up that ladder from oblivious to inept to beginner to basic to competent to advanced to strength to mastery? How do you move up that ladder? 3 ways. 1, apply your talent toward that activity. 2, increase your knowledge in regards to that activity. Or 3, improve your skills, which is the steps of performing that activity. Get better at performing the steps. And you could use this to help any client in any situation, is when they have contrast, identify what alignment looks like for them, and then what activity will help them best get to that alignment, and then help them prepare to perform it. And that's what the video that you'll be watching this week will go into more deeply. So you'll have that to look forward to. So then there will be an assignment in there. We're going to want you to complete the worksheet. There's a long version and a short version. We're just going to want you to complete the short version. And what you're going to complete it on is one of the activities of being a talent to strength interventionist. And what are those? You're going to be like, I don't know. It's in the video. In the video, we list all these different things that you could do to become a better strength interventionist. For example, one activity is to learn the themes backwards and forwards. So you could become super knowledgeable about the themes. That would be an activity that would improve your strengths intervention, for example. And you're going to complete the strength thinking worksheet on one of that activity or one of the other activities you choose from. There's a list, or you can make up your own. You don't have to listen to us. You know, it's just me here today. It's not like Felinda's here where, you know, you got to be on your best behavior. It's like when the Cat in the Hat comes, you know, to visit, you know, to babysit. And you guys are thing one and thing two. You're just very quiet. You're quiet fish. You don't say anything. And then, yeah, if you connect with an accountability partner this week to go over anything that you're missing or not making sense or you want to talk through or whatever. So, yeah, let me stop there. See if you guys have any thoughts, questions, reactions to anything so far.
I'm looking forward to it because my daughter is actually getting ready to take her strength assessment this week.
Cool.
So I have a live guinea pig.
You have what? I didn't hear the last part.
A live guinea pig.
Yes, a live guinea pig. How old is she?
She's an adult. She's 28. So
28. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. This will be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what they are. That'd be great. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So, in the video, in the class, I'm going to talk through this model. You probably can't even read the text. But this is strength thinking, and it's super, super like, if you ever have anybody say, well, what do I do with StrengthsFinder? Once I've learned the themes, what do you do after that? This will be the best answer that I've come across yet. If you know of a better answer to that question, please do share it. But I'm going to share my answer to that in the video that you're going to watch next. So I'm not really going to talk through this because that's what the whole video is about. So you'll be seeing these four phases. Yellow is isolate activity. Second is maturate themes. Third, next is aggregate knowledge, and four, skill. This is the strength formula: talents times knowledge plus skill in a given what? Activity. So it'll all come together more. Right now, you're probably like, that's a lot. I don't know what that is. You will learn it. You will like it. If you don't like it, you will love it. If you don't love it, you will love it. I don't know what comes after love it. Steps 3 and 4, we're going to go through that. These are the long form worksheets. And as I said, there's a short form worksheet. So, these I think are, these are some of the slides that we talked through on the video about how to talk to your clients about the nuance phase of COIN. So raw, connect, observe, interrupt, nuance. So let's talk there for a little bit. Let's see if you have any thoughts, reactions to anything here, anything you've noticed about yourself in regards to nuance, any questions you might have, or any success stories. So yeah, let me turn it over to you guys, see if you have any thoughts, questions, reactions to any of the stuff we talked about regarding nuance.
Is that being able to turn it on and off when we need to?
Yeah. So say more about that. Well, was that a question or like just?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just clarifying. That's what that is.
Yeah. I mean, the interrupt. So talents are always on. That's one of the things we talk about with raw talent. Your talents are always on. They're very efficient. They run in the background. They operate in the background. They've been doing it for years before you even took StrengthsFinder. And you didn't even know you had these little programs or something. Like, that's how I think of it. Like right now on your phone, your smartphone, there's probably apps running in the background you don't even know. Some apps are really going to drain your battery. So you're going to know, and you're going to turn those apps off. Those are like your lesser themes. Your lesser themes, like for me, includers number 34. So if I'm trying to be inclusive, I can do it awkwardly, but it's going to be a high drain on my battery. So, but then my strategic, my number one theme, it's very low drain on my battery. It's always running. I don't even notice it. I wish I could slow it down sometimes. So that's the themes are always on part. Then when we get to interrupt in the coin model, that's when we're talking about turning off our themes. But on or off is a really like clunky choice. You know, it's like your light switch. Do you want your lights all the way on or all the way off? Sometimes yes, but a lot of the times you would like it somewhere in between full blast and full darkness. So that's where nuance comes in. So nuance builds upon interrupt. Because turning them all the way off may not be good. Maybe just turning them down a little bit or finding that right level. So that's what we're saying here.
So Adam, it's like a dimmer switch?
It's like a dimmer switch. Or if you look at the image for nuance, it looks like a volume control knob. So dimmer switch, great metaphor. Volume control, great metaphor. So yes, perfect, thanks. Other thoughts, reactions to anything related to nuance?
Adam, I don't have much of a voice, so can you guys hear me okay?
Sound great, yeah, go on.
This is why I have my touched up picture there. This is Leanne.
That's great.
Thanks, better than I do right now. But I have to say how much I love this visual, and I'm always using my hand like I'm turning up and down when I'm talking to people about it. It's now just a part of my vernacular. It's that hand gesture, but it's pretty powerful when you talk, especially when you reference the alignment piece. If you're having a client who's struggling with their alignment, to say, are you turning down your themes all the time? Are some muted? Are some off? Or is it a consistent message in your world? Because that's a significant lack of alignment when you have that. And so even using this in reference to some of those other materials throughout a coaching conversation, it makes so much more sense, and it explains the aim it to me so much better. How is this actual practical for people who are out in the workforce? So, I'll put those 2 cents in, but I think it's such a great tool to use in all the conversations once you get to it.
That's great. Yeah. I want to challenge you that whenever you do the hand gestures for turning up or turning down, that you add a sound effect with it next time.
Challenge accepted. I will work on that next session 9. It's coming your way.
Oh, that would be so great. Help me remember.
You got it.
Okay, sound effect. Cool. Yeah, and also to your point, this idea of being able to turn up and down our themes, it's something that you can do with clients is help them to remember, once you've worked with them on their top 5, help them remember to do it with their 6 through 10 themes. What would it look like to dial up your number 6 theme? Because if there's somebody that's only been working with their top 5 and then only recently uncovered their full 34, then, there's a whole, like, for me, learning the next 6 through 10 themes and applying them was a whole other adventure, and I'm still on it, really. I forget about them, because I've been so focused on top 5 all the time. So yeah, you can help them remember to nuance their 6 through 10 themes and, look at what it would look like to dial it up when they've dialed down one of their 1 through 5 themes. So great. Yeah. Any other thoughts on nuance? Yes. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I could not find the hand raise thing. So that's why I've been.
Well, you did great.
Okay. So I have a question that Leanne's comments kind of made me think about, and I don't know if it makes sense. I haven't had a lot of input the last couple of weeks as we've moved off the connect portion, because I've really struggled to connect with my top 5. And I mean, woo pops up when I randomly talk to strangers and things. but I've been struggling with them. So that when we've gone deeper, like, you know, the interrupt and the nuance, my worksheets are getting blanker and blanker.
Yeah.
You know that what I'm doing currently, I'm like a square peg in a round hole. So my job that I currently do is not something I chose. It's just because it's our family business and needs to be done. And so I'm doing that in conjunction with raising children. But when you guys were talking about that, maybe you've had themes that you've dialed down so long, is it possible that I've dialed down some of my top 5 because they don't fit perfectly in my current life, and that's why I'm having trouble connecting with them now?
Well, that's interesting. Like the way you said it, I'm not connecting with them in my life. That would make sense. Because those are 2 separate issues. One is, are the themes that were recorded or reported here, your top 5, are they accurate? You know, do they reflect how you experience the world? Here's a way of saying it. Of the 34 themes, are these 5 your most natural reactions, ways of reacting to the stimuli in your environment? Are these, like, is the first thing you're doing, or one of the first things, it doesn't have to be the first, but is a priority of yours seeing what's not working? Has that been part of your life? Have you been one of those people to like be like,
I don't see that at all in me.
Yeah.
But I'm not, like, I don't disbelieve the results. And I've taken the tests. I know they say, like, only take it once. Apparently, I just love this stuff because I've dug up, like, 4 tests over, like, my, you know, adult life. And in my test, I've only unlocked 34 once. And so that's what I'm using for this. But my top 5 or top 10, they've shuffled, but none have dropped. You know, like my top 7 or 8 have pretty well been consistent. So I don't disagree with restorative, but yet I don't see it. So it's not that I don't believe the test. I just am struggling to say, that's where I do this. That's how I use this. Therefore, that's how I interrupt it and nuance it.
Yeah. Well,
and I didn't mean to hijack the conversation, but when she was talking about that, I just wondered if.
Well, it's a recurring thing. So Vicki, I want to see you make some progress on this, because this isn't the first time, you know, we've talked about how you don't identify with your themes, and this is what I do with clients in the same situation. Is I stay with connect until we solve that. You know, it doesn't make sense to talk about interrupt or nuance if you're like, I don't even know if these are me.
My little worksheet was blank. Yes.
So I want to stay with this more. I think we need to do a couple things. I would say first thing is, if you can find the 4 or whatever times you've taken StrengthsFinder, and what year approximately, it doesn't even have to be accurate, but what were the results? And then I want to look at that to see if there's any similar themes that at least have some consistent presence in your top 10.
Okay.
Because then, we can feel confident that those might be some anchor themes that we could work with. Like maybe restorative, even though it's your number 1 here, it would be my most likely candidate to work with you on, but maybe it's like never even showed up in any of your other 3 previous ones.
Okay. I'm looking, I have a Post-it note.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing and maybe this has been my focus that has been coming in, because this has been bugging me since I started this course. I've taken it at least 3 times, and restorative was number 1, number 2, and number 1.
Yeah.
And I know Rhonda says sometimes things are just, right in front of your nose, and that's why you don't see them. And maybe that's my issue. Maybe I'm just not, maybe I'm doing it, but not seeing it myself.
Well, I have a couple of examples of what might be going on here. One is not a very, I don't know. It's a weird example, but it works. All right. So the first example is when I learned about positive psychology and how they viewed happiness. Because I don't view myself as a happy person. I have more of a melancholic temperament, which is more of a, you know, kind of a Eeyore type of personality, you know. Because I always thought happiness was about laughing and smiling all the time. And I don't laugh and smile all the time. Other people I know do, and they are my role model for what happiness looks like. That's what I always thought happiness was. But when I studied positive psychology, I learned that happiness looks like a lot of different things. And so tranquility is happiness. It doesn't look like laughing and smiling and high energy, but peace of mind could be happiness. And I have a lot of that. So, you know, the reason I bring that up is because maybe restorative, the way you think of it, you're not able to see it. But if you elongated your meaning for what restorative is, then maybe it would create some space for you to see it showing up more. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so one of the things we need is feedback from trusted confidants. I would share the original definition of your themes, which is the signature themes report. And you can pull that off of your the GallupStrengthCenter.com website, where they have your reports on file there. But you could also, with that one, the signature themes report, you can pull it off the document generator. And I would share it with 5 people and ask them to read the descriptions, and if they think it describes you, and if so, if they could think of an example or 2 that would capture it.
Okay. And when I first met Rhonda, I did that with 2. I did it with my husband and my most recent boss, which it's been like 15 years, but he's got a good memory. So
yeah. And what did they say? What did they say?
Yeah, I don't have a memory, so I don't. And my husband, I know on Woo, my husband was like, yes, I see this coming out. On Focus, he was like, I don't see that at all. Okay, let me look at my other ones. Futuristic, yes, and I see that. I mean, I can feel that one.
Okay.
And Harmony. Oh, I just lost my screen.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I lost my screen. It went back to my email.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that all of them.
Well, we gotta do something with restorative. We either gotta help you connect to it, or we gotta get it out of your top 5.
And Focus too. And again, maybe I don't have the right definition for how focus looks in my life, but I would love more of it. So I would love to harness that.
Good. Yeah. I mean, and another thing too is it's hard to know what it's like to not have a theme, or to have or to imagine what it would look like to have a theme that someone else has. Like I have a really hard time imagining what it would be like in the mind of someone with focus. You would if focus is truly one of your top 5 themes, then you would have a very hard time imagining life without that theme. You'd have a hard time imagining how would somebody get through life without focus? Like how would they make things happen? How would they get anything done? So what I would do is I would we got to focus on this, because like you just pointed out at the beginning, you can't do your homework if you can't get deeper into the coin model. So we got to figure this out.
Well, and I want to. I know a lot of you are already coaches, and I'm not. I'm like looking for a next step, like a next career. And so my first plan is to take this into our engineering company and work with the employees. But if I don't have confidence that I have myself figured out, I don't know that I can go to the employees and.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you one good thing.
Guide them.
If you can figure it out, you'll have great stories to model for the people in the firm. But let's see. Leanne has her hand up. Let me check in with her. Maybe she has some thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this could be accurate or not accurate, but Vicki, not knowing you, I hear you're restorative just in this example today. So I would encourage you to look back and see where are those times that you've been able to see, because we know these don't live alone, right? So when you're looking at the future and when you're looking at those pieces, are you able to really see where the weak link is in the chain? Because you've already done that in real life with these worksheets. You said, I can't get past connect because, and you know where it is, like you've identified it so naturally, and it just happens to be what helps you identify the weak link in the chain, which is that restorative piece. And I find with my clients, I don't know if other people do, that people with restorative tend to have a hard time even giving themselves that ability. You know, it seems like a sixth sense, if you will, but I don't know if that helps, but you know, I hear that coming out in you, and I would encourage you to think back on some times that maybe aren't this current job, but in your family life or in other pieces, when you're having these conversations with people, you know, where does that look? And if it's even there at all. It's interesting that it comes up 1, 2, and 1. That's odd.
It's got to, you know, like it must be right in front of me, and I'm just not looking at it through the right lens.
Well, some things that I would do, I would say, this is what the reports are for. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I've never actually come out and said it, and I've never heard anybody else say it. But for example, this report here is meant to help you spot the theme. That's why we wrote these in bullet points, and then Gallup improved upon them. And so these are all Gallup official now. But restorative, when you are experiencing problems, are you overwhelmed by them and you shut down compared to other people around you? Or are you one of the people who's often more likely to roll up your sleeves and try to help solve a problem?
That's a good question. I've been, in my previous work life, I was probably one that got in and solved the problems. Since my children, I have a senior in high school, and I started staying home when she was 3.5 years old. So for the last 14 years, I've been a stay-at-home / work-at-home mom with, you know, a department of one.
What does that job entail?
I'm the business manager for my husband's engineering firm.
No, what does the job entail of being the parent, raising somebody? You know, right? We say it's the toughest job in the world, being a mother. So what do you do when you're a mother raising a kid?
You do everything.
Like what? Like I'm waiting for you to say I solve problems.
Yes.
Well, yes.
I solve
but parenting is very overwhelming. But
you know,
you don't get overwhelmed with your parenting.
I'm sorry. I was saying I'm listening to her, and it seems like every choice she has made has been a restorative act. It's like, you know, I became a stay-at-home mom so that she can solve the problem, whatever problem that was solved. Leaving her job to go, you know, be the business manager for her husband's business.
It's a little hard. Solving a problem. It's a little hard to hear. You can say that one more time. Maybe move closer to the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Do that.
I'm sorry. I had it muffled.
It's great.
No, I was saying everything that I was hearing her say sound like the choices that she has made have been restorative acts. So, you know, being a stay-at-home mom solved the problem. Leaving her job to go be her husband's business manager was solving a problem. So it seems like it just looks different in her life.
Yeah.
Sorry that I hijacked this.
She doesn't see it as a problem.
But you know what? Now hearing you guys speak, it sounds like maybe I'm looking for what do I do on a day-to-day, because like literally if somebody emails me and says their paycheck is messed up, that's a problem for me to solve. And I don't get excited about solving it. I just want to beat my head into a wall because I'd rather be doing something else. But these restorative things I'm doing are like big picture, like taking this class is a big part of solving what do I want to do next? What can I do that I enjoy doing? So I'm like trying to solve big picture problems. And maybe I'm just looking for little day-to-day 5-minute tasks that solve problems, and I'm not seeing those.
I think this
That's
is
awesome.
So that's, thank you guys. that
Makes
helps
sense.
me a way to frame it.
Yeah, Rhonda helped me see something recently. Just to give you an example, but yeah, great, Nikki. Thank you for that. Well, everybody's comments is great. Yeah. So futuristic turns out to be number 10 for me. And as I mentioned, I haven't really explored my 6 to 10 that much. So what Rhonda helped me realize is I'm a pretty clumsy futurizer. I futurize the second half, and I don't futurize the first half of how to get to that second half. So what that means is I have these ambitious, it's like the quote that I think it was Thoreau said, build your castles in the sky if that's where they are, but just make sure to build the foundation underneath. So I build castles in the sky. My futuristic has these big, sweeping, large visions, but then you can't complete those unless you build the platform of basic steps underneath. So what I'm saying is maybe my futuristic is so out there that I can't relate to it yet closer to home with some of the more immediate future and more basic, smaller future things, instead of just going for this whole big vision that's just overwhelming it. You can't get there from here, So I'm wondering if with restorative, if you're like, everything's restorative, and therefore you don't know, that you don't do it. It's like maybe it's so much a part of you that it's just it's so pervasive. It's like the fish in water kind of thing, where the fish doesn't really sit there and think they're breathing water the same way we don't sit there and think we're breathing oxygen. We just, oh, okay. So I'm wondering if it's so familiar to you. But here's the real thing I want to say on this, and then we can move on. And this is the value of you providing this, Vicki. So I think this is great. It's modeling what we would do with clients to help them to really connect with their themes. And one of the things I want to make sure not to do is I don't want to sell you on these themes. I don't want to force these themes on anybody. But I do want to say that you answered these questions, and these questions are pretty reliable for indicating the presence of these qualities. So my approach in this situation is to assume that the results are accurate, but hold out for the potential that they're not. However, if you do hold out, if you're like, if I were to start with, okay, maybe these aren't accurate, Vicki, then where do we go from there, As if you were my client, or reverse it, if you were my coach, and I'm like, these aren't me, then you'd be like, well, all right, then where do we go from there? So I want to say, let's stay with this a little bit more. And my experience is that it's almost always revelatory and accurate. The StrengthsFinder is. The results are almost always insightful for people. Uncanny is the word I hear all the time when people talk about it. No one uses the word uncanny. But they use it all the time with StrengthsFinder. They should call it the uncanny StrengthsFinder. But they're like, it's uncanny how accurate it was. So I want to assume it is, and I want to just say, all right, we got to help you lock in. You've got to, your theme detector is the wires are a little loose, so we want to tighten those wires up and help you really see. So we go,
My wires are loose everywhere, so that's not.
Mine are fried, so you're ahead of me. There's hope for you, at least. But, it's like, here are some of the signs right here to look for. Are you constantly trying to improve things? So I would say, don't worry about anything else for tomorrow except this. Let's make restorative your little list to look for. Just make a little list and check in. Did I bring something back to life and enjoy it? Did I come to the rescue and help somebody who was having a problem and that made me feel great? Also look at the things you do fix and say, I don't like fixing that stuff. Because it doesn't mean restorative likes fixing everything. So that might be messing with your signals too. If you're like, I don't like fixing that. I don't like that problem over there. Maybe I don't have restorative. Just say, oh, I don't like those kinds of problems. Because I'm going to say you need problems that involve people because of harmony and woo. So if you're doing problems that are just, they don't speak to you personally, then you got to find different problems to solve maybe. And focus, if you know, to see if you have focus. I guess it would be hard. If you were in my head, you'd know if you had focus or not, because you'd be like, this is a mess. There's no clear, tangible goals or outcomes, because that's what they need. You know? So I would say, do people have to interrupt you a couple times to get your attention because you're so focused on a task?
Occasionally, when it's something that I want to be doing.
Well, you need to find out what those things are.
I can go down the rabbit hole.
We need to find the areas where if these are your themes, we need to find the areas where you can apply them. So yeah, it might mean making some change. You might have just so much contrast in your life right now that it's hard to get any traction on anything, because everything is contrast.
Yeah.
You know, but let's look for the signs. Let's just forget about all the others. Let's just take restorative and just schedule 2 to 3 check-in times tomorrow, just 5 minutes, and check in and say, since my last check-in, have I restored? What have I done? Have I restored anything? Have I solved problems? How did I feel about it? You know, have I been cruising for problems? And here's another one to look out for. Have I been criticizing myself today? It sounds weird to say that, but with restorative, you're always seeing faults or things that aren't working. So you're going to see them with the one thing that is there every moment of your day. You. Imperfect you. So I would say, are you catching your own imperfections? You know, is that what's loud in your head? And then if so, that might be a sign you have restorative. And then I would say, not just this one here, but I would say, go through this one. Which will be very similar, because I've based a lot of these on this, because this is the source code. But let's just go sentence by sentence. You love to solve problems. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'll see. But I'll tell you, for example, I don't have restorative, because whenever I experience yet another breakdown, I am de-energized by it. You might be energized by it. You enjoy the challenge of analyzing symptoms. Do you like finding out why things aren't working? See if you catch yourself during the day doing that. I go through these sentence by sentence because I have a theory, and I don't know if it's true. I have a theory that each sentence, or maybe 2 sentences, if they needed 2 sentences to make a point, is one of the kind of talents that makes up the theme of restorative. So solving problems might be one part of restorative. Another part might be being energized by solving problems. That's a little different. The analyzing symptoms, that's a little different than solving problems. That's not quite the same. Or in being energized by solving problems, analyzing the symptoms and identifying what's wrong. Finding solutions might be another part of it. Some people with restorative might be better at finding the problems, and some people with restorative might be better at finding solutions. And some people may be awesome at both with restorative, and some people may not be good at either with restorative either. We shall see. Maybe they have other patterns. That is why restorative scored so high in there. Maybe we'll see what else in here. You seek out specific kind of problems that you have met many times before, and you're confident you can fix it. That's really interesting. Are there certain types of problems you gravitate toward? Because maybe you're not, input doesn't input everything. Input inputs what it cares about. Achiever doesn't achieve everything. Achiever achieves what it cares about. And restorative doesn't restore everything. Restorative restores what it cares about.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I like doing this. This is what I do. I'll finish up here with this. You may feel the greatest push when faced with complex and unfamiliar problems. So maybe you like new problems, especially if you have learner high. Maybe you enjoy problems that are very familiar. Maybe you like routine problems. Maybe you like physical problems. Maybe you like people problems. Maybe you like organizational problems, different kinds of problems. It's a wonderful feeling to identify the undermining factors, eradicate them, and restore something to its true glory. That's a juicy sentence right there for helping people see what restorative is about. It may be the most quintessential of the themes. Intuition, what your intuition tell you, that without your intervention, you know that this thing is not going to function. Do you ever feel that way? Like, okay, it's like a little bit of responsibility in there. I feel obligated to fix it. I feel the pull toward it. Do you feel a pull? Because I don't feel a pull toward fixing problems. I feel the repulsion. I'm like, get me out of here. I want to avoid this.
Sometimes I feel like a responsibility to fix them, even though I don't maybe have a huge interest in fixing them.
Yeah, so we need to find
and I kind of grumble about it, but yet I still put myself in that situation.
Yeah, we need to find problems you're interested in. So, and then the last sentence, you fixed it, resuscitated it, rekindled its vitality. Phrasing it the way you might, in other words, however you say it, you saved something. You saved something. So maybe that one thing could be the key. What did you save today? But like, this is what I would do with clients. It's like, okay, we gotta start with Connect. Why wouldn't I be dumb to move on from Connect if, with the client, if I'm trying to help them understand their themes? Maybe not dumb. That's a little judgmental, but it's like, well,
Counterproductive.
Yeah, it's a little counterproductive. So we gotta focus on that. So anyway, do you feel like you have enough to?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll pull those other reports too. I'll email them to you and then see what you
that's
suggest.
great.
Yeah. Yes, thank you all very much.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
See, and you thought we were going to be quiet today.
Well, you had me thinking that might happen. All right, let's switch gears a little bit before we finish up. Let's talk a little bit about this. Did anybody do this? And if not, we won't talk about it, or unless you want to. But did anybody do this? Did anybody look at their themes in relation to these 4 phases of a project and say, I see how my themes lend to that phase or detract from that phase? Or maybe you did it with one theme, or maybe you didn't do it at all. I don't know. Any thoughts, reactions on this? Did anybody do the theme scramble?
I did that.
Who did that?
I did that.
Oh, good. How'd you do?
I did good.
Good.
I mean, I didn't get all.
Oh.
I had to leave some blanks, so I left 8 blanks, and then went back and through process of elimination, I got.
That's great. I would have easily have done that too. And then what I would have done is gone back and made those the ones I read up on more. But then also, maybe I didn't learn about them because those themes initially bore me, or I'm resistant to them, or I don't know. But yeah, like just reading through that restorative with you again was great. It refreshed my appreciation and understanding of what distinguishes that theme. And so it's always good to do that. So when I do that with clients, or even if I'm in the middle of a workshop and there's 20 people in a room, if there's a theme, I'll read it and, we'll go through it together like that. It's kind of, I like it. I don't know what you thought of it when we did it together on restorative, but, that's what it's like. It gets people's attention on it, makes them think about it. All right. So you did good on Theme Scramble. Good. Anybody else? Thoughts, reactions to this exercise? It's something you could do with clients as like a way to give them a little preview or a sense of all 34 themes that are out there. I like doing that. I don't ever expect clients to memorize the full 34 themes, but I do like giving them a sense of what's out there, because usually we only work with a top 5 report, so that means they can only see what's in their top 5.
Yeah, and Adam, this is good with like teams too, when you're trying to get them to understand the shared language of it, because you can spend the time on them connecting with their themes, but when they're going to be forming teams and working together and understanding dynamics of people who have maybe contrasting themes or different themes than them, this just helps them understand the different extremes that are the 34 themes.
Yep.
That they can just be so manifested differently. So I envision using this as like with people with competition, with like groups, and how many can pin the tail on the theme, that type of thing with the game board and all of that stuff. This is just a fun tool for that understanding, to make sure the language is is you're speaking an understood language, not
That's
an
right.
assumed.
Yeah. And there's another little thing in there too, where, let me just ask it this way. Let's say you had a team of 3 people and they had very similar themes, and you had a team of 3 people and they didn't have any of the themes the same. All things being equal, beside that, who would you say would do a better job on this form?
The people that were different.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a metaphor, it's like when you have more of these themes represented, it brings more perspectives and to bear. So it's kind of like a little metaphorical. I don't know. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end here. I'll stick around to see if anybody has any questions. And so yeah, let me be thinking if you have any questions so we can queue them up. If there are any, there may not be any. But for next time, you're gonna watch the strategic thinking themes. Is this right? Why do we have all the strategic themes in this one? Which one were you guys supposed to watch for today? Was it the strategic thinking themes or the executing themes?
Thinking.
Okay. So then for next time, then I think it's going to be the executing themes. Wait. Oh no, this is for today. Okay. Yeah. So for next week, you'll see in the video, it's going to be to do the strength thinking worksheets that you'll see. And you're going to pick whatever activity you want. It could be, we guide you toward doing a talent to strength related activity. But honestly, if there's anything else you want to do, feel free. I give this example in the video you'll see of me learning to ride electric unicycle. And like, I'm totally, the last month and a half, that's been my obsession. So, I've never done it before. I didn't even know it existed 2 months ago. Electric unicycles. I didn't know there was such a thing. And so I've been moving up the ladder. And so you can pick something like that. If there's something you're excited to get into, a new hobby, feel free. Because it's been extremely illuminating for me to watch myself move up this ladder in a specific activity of riding a unicycle. And to think about, am I using my themes? How would I use strategic to ride an electric unicycle? Which there's definite ways. There's ways I use intellection riding a unicycle. But then it's not just that. It's not just the themes. It's like, I love themes, so don't get me wrong. But it's also the knowledge and skills that has nothing to do with StrengthsFinder. But it's like, but it has everything to do with you living a successful life and being successful in the activities. Knowledge and skills has everything to do with that. It's not just themes. What knowledge did I gain to become better at riding a unicycle? And there's definitely knowledge I've gained that made a difference. And then what are the skills? What are the steps of riding a unicycle? And there are. And which steps am I doing well? And which ones am I not doing well? And, can I get better at those steps I'm not doing well? And improve my overall performance. And performance with riding a unicycle could be measured as not getting killed. Not falling on your face. All right. So you'll have that experience for next week. So with that, we'll bring this to a close and see if anybody has any questions. Anybody needs to take off. We're ending a few minutes early for what that's worth. So feel free to take off, and then anybody has questions, we'll take it from there. So let's do that. Thoughts, questions, reactions to anything.
I just have a reaction that it was nice to have that live coaching too, because it's fun to see. Those of us who do coach have your own style and your own questions. And I've learned a lot from watching you, Adam, through this, backing us up and the accept, adapt, reject, and then well, let's make sure these are accurate, not trying to convince people. So Vicki, I appreciate you asking that question. And I wouldn't say you hijacked it at all, because that's real life value. When you get coaching, you can get in your own rut, in your own style. And there's so much value in just watching someone else ask questions and observe. So I love that. I appreciate it.
Cool. Cool. That's great. I love that feedback and comments. So thank you. Other thoughts, reactions, questions before we leave?
Adam, this is Kathy.
Hello.
And I'm very new to the strengths thingy, and I jumped in because I too wanted to learn more about my strengths and the strengths themselves. Not so much to be a trainer or an interventionist and all of that. So I thoroughly appreciated today and how you can look at a specific strength in the different directions. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. I too learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. I do too all the time. Every time I go through them, and just, you know, I do this with everybody. I correct people, make sure they call them themes, because they're not strengths. Strengths are different. And this video, no, don't worry about it. This video this week is perfect, because we will be getting into that in a way we haven't yet. So looking forward to hearing your reactions to it. And yes, going over these over and over again, it really helps us become better at it. Yeah. Thank you. Other thoughts, questions? Comments? All right. Feel free to reach out if you do. And really enjoyed today's class, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Happy
Adam.
Thanksgiving.
Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, we're good. No, there were no, I thought I might have missed that. All right.
Bye, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.